What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode. Thanks for listening. We probably don't introduce ourselves enough. Jeff Hatton, to my right, your left, pastor of Redeemer. Colin Coates, I used to work at Redeemer, retired in glory, now in residential real estate and residential construction. We're going to do most of our episodes, kind of pick a topic, talk about that topic a little bit, do something a little bit more maybe lighthearted, I guess, or maybe a little bit more fun, maybe. We'll just do first thoughts, and I'm going to ask you questions, and I'll give my first thoughts too.
Yeah.
But
because that's kind of not fair.
We'll cover, that's not fair. We'll cover a range of topics over the next 15 minutes or so.
Okay.
Guns. What are your first thoughts on guns?
This is Texas, as a friend of mine says.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of obsessed with them right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love them. That's my first thought.
Do you own any?
I own 2. And for my birthday, my family got me a really, really nice one that I'm kind of like, I think about. I love to clean.
Yeah.
And love to shoot it. It's great.
Since the Bible is against Christians ever being violent and against self-defense and all those kind of things, how do you justify having a gun?
Well, that's an interesting question. I didn't know that the Bible teaches that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What is your, seriously, first thought? Someone says, Jeff, you're a Christian.
Yeah.
Why would you ever need a gun? Doesn't that seem like, how can you turn the other cheek with a gun?
Yeah, I think there's kind of like 2 things. One is just the sport of it and the enjoyment of it. I think that's one issue. And then if you're talking about self-defense and protecting my family, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 things. I love it. I love shooting. I love the competition because it's a competition with yourself, and I really enjoy that. And then I will protect my family.
Self-defense. So We're not going to get into this. We'll just hang it out there.
Yeah.
It sounds like what you're saying is that, biblically speaking, as a Christian, there is a reality where there could be a justified
absolutely
shooting, killing of another person.
Absolutely.
That is, obviously it's not how the world should be.
Right.
It's not how heaven is. It's not how the new earth and the new heavens will be. But that's what it seems like you're saying.
Yes.
Same. I own a couple guns. I've heard the arguments that some Christians hold, some whole denominations have held about pacifism, and that there's never a justified reason to be violent towards someone else. And obviously that's a really heavy topic that,
absolutely.
Like I said,
there's so many layers to that.
Yeah, that we could spend a lot of episodes, of course, right? It's a regrettable thing, but it's a part of a sinful, fallen world.
Yes.
And so there's nothing in the Bible to me that communicates that I should take the position of, like, if someone breaks in my house, my 8-year-olds are just on their own.
Right.
Because I got to turn the other cheek.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Good luck. Alcohol. Thoughts on alcohol?
Yeah, that's because times have changed. We've been in a college town that primarily the spiritual culture has been against it.
Mm-hmm. Baptist college town.
But our tradition, like in our tradition, Calvin used to get, like, part of his payment or his salary was a wine, a stipend for holding parties and feasts for people. So our tradition has that. And then our tradition also has, like, during some of the revivals, a lot of the revivalists that were, like, anti-drinking and made it a moral, righteous issue, that in our tradition, many felt that names that people would be like, you're kidding me. Many felt almost obligated to drink in front of those revivalists for the sake of the gospel, the freedom of the gospel. So, and as far as me personally, I enjoy adult beverages.
What's your favorite?
Well, I mean, my go-to,
Shiner.
I just love Shiner.
Like a beer.
Yeah, love Shiner, and also love a Cabernet, a red wine with steak.
Yeah, you have that kind of, like, feminine side of you.
I do.
I've gotten into wine more recently.
Have you?
In the past, like, year. Yeah, my family's always Yeah, it's like always glass of wine with dinner. I was just like, never. I'm always like, gosh, this is gross. Recently,
You didn't
though,
like wine?
no, yeah. So it's really more the past couple of years that I've like
It's not like
dabbled.
wine is not something that I would like drink apart from a meal,
Yeah,
but beer I would drink apart from a
yeah,
meal.
yeah.
You know,
I've gotten into whiskey sours. Had my first. I was at my brother-in-law's wedding. I
yeah.
was at this cool kind of ranch, and like whiskey sour was the thing, and it was just the most Texas like. So I tried them, and they're good. But I'm much more of like a sweeter,
Are you?
not super sweet, but like sweeter cocktail. Whiskey
Yeah.
sour is incredible.
Huh.
Same. I think alcohol is totally fine. Jesus
It's a
turns
blessing.
water
Yeah.
to wine. The Bible talks about wine. I think it says wine specifically cheering the heart.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this kind of almost holistic attitude thing that's almost like medicinal that
Absolutely.
God seemed to create
Yeah.
and approve of, and even in some sense encourage. What are your thoughts before we leave that? And we did not talk about any of these before.
None of this. This
I
is
made
all
a
off
list.
script, right?
I made a list of like 10 things to ask. Your thoughts on, because I think sometimes the argument back to that is like, Christians, whole denominations, churches could say, I agree, having alcohol is fine. There's nothing inherently sinful about it, right? Getting blasted is another, getting super drunk, whatever, is a
Yeah.
different thing.
Yeah.
But like having a glass of wine is fine. But however, like I was at a church before where in certain leadership positions, you weren't allowed to drink it anywhere in like the city limits because of potentially offending a brother. The whole Romans offending a brother, offending their conscience, where their conscience says like I can't drink. What are your thoughts on that and being maybe sensitive to someone else?
Yeah, so that's a great text. So the weaker brother is not somebody who just has an offense. The weaker brother is not like the offended person, the moralist. The weaker brother is if someone like struggles.
Yeah.
Like let's say someone struggles with the addiction, or someone has grown up in a family that it was abused, and you're sensitive to that weaker brother. You're not being sensitive to somebody that takes this moralistic, self-righteous high ground on a specific area, right?
Right.
And that's kind of how alcohol's done, it seems to me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we don't want to offend people. Well, okay, well, the Bible says it's not offensive.
Right. Right.
The Bible says that, wine gladdens the heart.
Sure.
It's a gift or a blessing. So that's how I see it.
Yeah.
I see if someone struggles, if someone, that if you were to drink in front of them and they've already it's already kind of wrecked their life and they're kind of recovering, that's more of the way that you would care for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. I think sometimes that there is like a line there, at least just in terms of like a line of love of friends, or I invite friends over for dinner, and I know that he or she, can't touch a sip of alcohol because of their past and with abusing it and things like that. And that just out of love could be like, yeah, let's just not crack open anything. We're not going to offer it, whatever. But then I think sometimes that line gets pushed so far or close, or however you look at it, where it's, again, like I have a background in church cultures where it's like you can't drink in the city just in case someone like that, or someone who's just kind of like finds it to be immoral, sees you having a beer at dinner at the local restaurant. And that's where I go, hey, like if that's the issue, then they need to avoid restaurants that serve alcohol.
Absolutely.
I can't put it on me to.
And in our tradition, it was that attitude that they actually would say, oh, that's why you perceive this? You think this is an act of righteousness? Then I will drink in front of you because your righteousness is in Jesus alone.
Right.
And elevating a preference or some object and declaring it to be righteous or unrighteous or clean and unclean that is not declared so in the Bible is not a good thing. It's not a healthy thing. And so they would feel, and I almost kind of feel the same way, obligated to help break that for them.
Right.
No, it's not that. You're actually putting yourself under the law
Yeah.
and enslaving yourself to the law in an unnecessary, unhealthy way.
Yeah. Yeah. You're thinking about it wrongly. And I wonder if even that Galatians passage applies a little bit to this, at least, of where Paul gets mad at Peter, because he's like, the Jews rolled up and you stopped eating bacon.
Yeah.
As opposed to, no, I'll eat it and then I'll explain to you exactly why, because it'll lead me to help explain the gospel.
Yes.
Thoughts on, and be careful with this one, in general, very quickly, sex. The reason I bring it up, Christian culture, I think, has a very wide spectrum of, on the one side, you hear stories of people who are like, I grew up in a church that implied, at least, that like sex in and of itself is bad, dirty, and then all of a sudden you hear those people where they tell the stories, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm getting married. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like celebrated, and they have this weird psychological thing. So I don't necessarily know what the question is there so much as like, first thoughts, I guess.
First thoughts, tremendous gift, unbelievable gift. That's my first thought. And I'd like to keep it that way. I like to keep it that way for my kids. I like them to see, and for anyone in the church to see, that what an incredible gift that God has given for marriage. And joy, intimacy, and it's so powerful in almost like a means in which to create intimacy, to express it, but also to reveal the lack of it, right? It's so powerful. So because it's so powerful, that's why he created it for marriage. So be careful would be my next thought. So my first thought is amazing gift, what a blessing. And then it's so powerful because it was made for marriage. So be very careful.
Yeah, right.
Don't hurt others.
Right.
Love others with it. Don't hurt others. Don't let it consume you outside of the marriage.
Yeah. Yeah, when you say gift, it makes me think of my kids. Like, we just having gone through Christmas where they're wanting to open their gifts, figure out what their gifts are ahead of time.
Yeah.
And me going, hey, like, if you open this or look at it ahead of time, like, you're going to spoil it. And then when it comes time to actually open it fully and enjoy it, there's a little bit there of like, it's kind of been spoiled a bit, right? And so I think that the church probably has to do a good job of helping people say that. Like, the reason we're saying abstain before marriage is not because it's bad. We're saying abstain so that when you get married, it's as great as it can possibly be.
Absolutely.
And obviously the Bible even, talks about it like fire, that it's not even just like opening a gift before Christmas, but it's like, actually, if you open that gift right now, what you don't know is it's on fire. You're open, and then when it comes Christmas, it's not on fire anymore. But like right now, you're opening up fire outside of a fireplace is like how the Proverbs talk about it. And so like, don't get me wrong, there can be some enjoyment there pre-marriage, but you're also literally playing with fire in that regard. And so there's a lot of damage that is going to happen just inherently pre-marriage, but then also there's going to be lasting burns for the rest of your life,
Absolutely.
Even if that lasting burn for the rest of your life is at a minimum just sheer regret. Like, man, I wish
clouds. I mean, I think it's just off first thought coming off my head. I think of so many times how I'll meet with young people and they misinterpret the intimacy and the level of the relationship they're in because of it, right? They actually think, because it's supposed to be for marriage, at least one person is going to think, this person is the one I'm going to marry. Yeah. And the other person's not even anywhere close. Right. So then they get hurt. Yeah. Unnecessarily so.
Yep. Maybe last one. Yeah. Since we're talking about sex, having kids. First thoughts on just having kids, married couple, having kids.
Oh man, I got so many thoughts. First thought
you got so many kids too.
Yes. So we have 5 kids, and my first thought is unbelievable joy and unbelievable pain at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the expansion of joy in your life is like incalculable, and the expansion of pain in your life is incalculable. You get both.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, agree.
Yeah.
And I'm much
How many do you have?
4.
4.
Agree. And I'm not as far down the road as you, and so, have kids, I think for me, just, this is like advice, I guess, but it's just, it's like, we probably had our first when we were 28 or 29 or something like that.
Yeah.
Took us a while to get pregnant. We later down the road, after having a couple kids, had a miscarriage. So, but to me, I still, now having 4 kids, 8 years old and down, I'm like, have kids sooner than later.
Yeah.
Like, man, if we could have had kids a couple years earlier, just honestly thinking of like, I want to be a young grandfather, mobile, agile. I want to see great grandkids at some point.
Yeah.
So to me, I think like young people, it's like, have kids early and often. I also think pre-kids, like, try to blow it out of the water in terms of like, you don't have kids yet. Like, go travel, like, even if travel is just like, you live in Waco, it's like, go to Austin this weekend, go to Dallas this weekend. The second that kid arrives, like,
it's over.
It's over. I mean, I know there's, like, don't get me wrong, there's high capacity people that they can have 17 children and they somehow like travel all the time. But the second you have to like load up one child in the car, you're just like, let's just not go anywhere. Yeah. I think have kids early and early. I think, and then just know, I think I totally agree when you were saying that. It's kind of like, someone said this to me one time, like, man, when the kids come, it's like a hand grenade goes off in your living room, right? Yeah. And on the one hand, it's like, I would love to see a hand grenade go off, like, up close and personal. But and having kids is like that. It's like the excitement and joy of being like, you get to watch a grenade explode.
Yeah.
Like, as a guy, I'm like, that's sick.
Yeah.
But then they're like, but there's one caveat, and it's going to be in your kitchen, and you're like, okay, this is going to be sick, and this is going to be so cool, and also kind of ruin everything. But it's all worth it, and it's awesome, and it's a blessing. So
right. Blessing.
Have kids. There's nothing like it for sure. All right, let's stop there. First thoughts. We might do another episode, maybe next episode. I've still got some on my list we'll go through. Hopefully this is fun, and hopefully you don't feel like those are 16 minutes that you'll never get back, but it was free. So